Welcome to the Tech Matchmaker, the show where contact center challenges meet their perfect tech match. I'm your host, Gina Gibson, and in just 15 minutes, we serve up the smartest, coolest innovations shaking up the contact center industry. Whether you're searching for your next solution or just love staying ahead of the curve, we've got the insights to keep you in the know. Let's dive in and discover what's next. I promise you, it's going to be fun. Hello, everybody. Today we are chatting with John Coulter, who is the Vice President of 5-Star Call Centers, about optimizing contact center performance in the BPO space. John, thanks so much for joining us today. It's great to see you.
Always great to see you. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Let's start with the basics. Tell us all a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, a little about me. Been in the contact center space for 20 years. Been with 5-Star for 14. Kind of on the operational innovation, kind of new business development side is kind of where I run for my vertical. You know, it's kind of fun. You know, how we worked and what we did 5 years ago is significantly different than what we do today. So super excited to kind of dive through the evolution of contact centers since I started. You know, it was manually dialing, believe it or not, versus all the great technologies that exist today. So kind of part of my role is just staying up to date on the greatest and, you know, what's true, what's not true, and how technology is evolving our worlds today.
Excellent. I always like to ask everybody too, John, tell us one thing about yourself that we may not find on LinkedIn.
I was a soccer coach for all of my kids for, 10 years. Would be one thing I don't brag about because I think I got yelled at by enough parents as it was over that course of my lifetime. So,
Excellent. So, John, tell us, what does 5-Star exactly do? What are the services you offer, and who is 5-Star?
yeah, so in the industry, obviously we're a BPO, a business process outsourcer. I would say that's evolved significantly, especially over the last few years. You know, we used to just be primarily agents, so people who needed help staffing, kind of managing the day-to-day of their, CX or PX. But now it's really kind of evolving into new roles into the technology space with digital agents, a lot of the self-help and AI tools that exist. A lot of companies are leveraging people like 5-Star and other groups within the industry to really help them improve their customer patient experiences.
Excellent. And who do you think, John, for those people listening, like, who should consider using a BPO? Because you said, it started just as agents and seats, but it's now evolving into more of a technology ad. Can you help them understand what the benefits are of using 5-Star?
Yeah, example would just be myself or our senior leadership team. You know, I'm actually the baby of the 8 of us on the senior leadership side with 14 years at 5-Star. The rest have been here significantly longer, but just the vast experiences we have within contact centers. You know, most companies don't keep up to date on the newest technologies, the newest things they can be doing to improve, customer satisfaction, reduce expenses, really start building out, what their AI journey looks like. So a lot of groups are using companies like us to really help them build out their new CX practice and kind of bring it into the 2025 realm of where AI actually is today.
And is that one of your differentiators, would you say, like, in a market that might be considered flooded in the BPO space? Like, what are your other differentiators? Because
Yeah, I
I
would
know,
say
yeah.
there's a few differentiators. I think our size is one of our greatest strengths. You know, we got about 1,200 agents, 900 in the U.S., and then we actually have a nearshore center as well. So for people who need bilingual needs or maybe a reduction in expenses, we're able to pivot there as well. So cost is definitely one. But ultimately, I would say experience on the technology side. You know, as a BPO, one of our greatest strengths is we provide technology, but about half of our clients provide technology that they may or may not be proficient with. So we are becoming experts in, you name a technology stack, and we probably ride along on it now with our 40 clients that we support, really in a couple different verticals we support. You know, really big in healthcare, product and technical support, and retail have really I would say has been our biggest growth over the last 3 years for sure.
And you bring up an interesting point, right? Like that where the customer brings you technology. I think we've all experienced places or times where you'll go into a site and they might be only using maybe 20% of the features and functionality, right? So is that something you then help the customer discover and say, wow, did you know with this software we can also be doing,
A lot of the time, I would say, half of our customers, we use their tech, which is perfectly fine. So we're kind of the staff augmentation, so we're the agents, but then we're ultimately helping optimize that tech, as you said. A lot of times we're not experts in it either, so we need to tap someone like you to say, Gina, I need help kind of on their AI readiness or what other options exist today. So we've got people like you we work with in the industry to really help our partners just use their technology to the fullest. We'd rather have them, we know what's possible with all the technologies, we just don't know the behind the scenes of how to build it. So that's where we use someone like you to really help us.
Excellent. And it's always fun working with you guys, for sure. Tell us a success story, John, of one of your customers, or a couple of success stories of how you guys have helped somebody out.
I would say, we help everybody, I hope, right? That's why they use us. I would say, one of our greatest strengths, if you call any one of my 40 customers, they like doing business with us. We're good people, we're fun, we're engaging. I think the success stories really are the partnerships. We have a client that's been with us for over 20 years, and really we've helped them on their technology journey, right? They used to be, 600 agents in their peaks, and now they're more like 100 just because of all of this automation and all of the fun things we put into place for them. I think one of the things we've done really well for that client is we did an intent mining study. Here are your inquiries. Here's what we think we can automate. And then we slowly, gradually built out a really nice digital roadmap for them and built digital agents over a year span for them to really help drive down their costs and provide, a better customer experience. It's challenging ramping that many agents, seasonally throughout the year for them. And we do it multiple times a year for them. So it's really been a win for them and their customers. So that's just, again, super fun client, 20 years with us. Just a great story. So.
And that longevity is something I know I've talked about you and Joel about the retention rate of your customers too. I think that's very unique in this space, that you have a very high retention rate of customers and truly earn the name 5-star. So congratulations and kudos to that. What's next for 5-star? Like, what do you guys see coming down with AI and all the different technology? Are there any new partnerships or expansions, or what do you guys have on the future cusp?
Yeah, I think there's one tech, you and I have talked about it, and we talked about it in Vegas, which I think will change the world, my personal opinion, which is the real-time interpretation, the speech-to-speech interpretation is unbelievable technology that's coming. I know you know them well, and I know that group very well. I think that's great. I think the translation is one of the biggest pieces in the future. I think the days of kind of using the, live agent to speak Mandarin and then translation is going away, where I think that'll be one of the greatest techs coming down the pipeline for really any contact center to just provide a better customer experience.
Well, and the barriers it's going to remove, right? Like we then become worldwide as opposed to, just North America and nearshore, offshore. It opens up every door possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where's the best labor in the world at a specific price point? You can take the accent out of those inquiries. So yeah, super excited to see where that technology goes, for sure. Other things we obviously work on are the, digital agents, as we call it. I think there's a lot of truth versus, false versus reality of what's actually possible. We see a lot of those simple inquiries. If you can put it in a knowledge base, we can probably build, an FAQ or a bot for it. But those more complex, we always say, urgent, emotional, and complex is what we do. So those haven't been quite as automated yet. Still need a live agent to really support those inquiries.
Absolutely. And for our listeners and anybody considering using a BPO, what are some of the criteria you would say, hey, consider using a BPO if?
I would say as you look at, the technologies that exist out there, there are some really great technologies we use in a recruiting process. We use them in a training process and really a workforce management to kind of optimize workflows. It's not cheap to buy that technology. So a lot of groups really choose to outsource it then because the BPOs already have it all, and we use it for all 40 of our clients. So hiring and recruiting is industry specific. If I'm hiring a retail agent, that's a lot different than a healthcare professional. So we've got a lot of that stuff built, and it's already baked into kind of our cost structure. So it's a little bit easier for us to do it than I would say most companies out there.
Excellent. And John, I've always been a fan of James Lipton. So to wrap the podcast, we do a few little rapid fire. What is your favorite word?
In business or professional, I guess, or in fun?
You can pick two. You can have two.
I'm going with innovation. Is probably my favorite in a business world because that's just what I do all day, every day. So super fun. And I would say fun is my on the personal side is what I like to do.
Excellent. And what's your least favorite word?
No, on the business side for sure. I think there's the art of the possibility now is with technology, so it's super fun. Just always trying to find a way to do things. So I would say no for sure is not. I'm not a fan of that word.
And what excites you the most?
It's every change. I think that's a great thing. I think as a company we've embraced it. We know it's coming. I think businesses know it's coming. I think what is it? It's like 3.2 billion in AI today, and by 2030 it's 100 billion, some crazy number like that. So innovation and continuing to grow and have fun with whatever you're trying to work on.
Excellent. And John, if somebody wants more information about the different technologies or your services at 5-Star, who should they reach out to?
They can reach out to me, John Coulter, or they can go to our website. We list a little bit of our technology that we use out there as well. But plus, I think probably as much about my technology as I do, so they can always ask you.
Excellent. Big thank you, John, for joining us today. It's always great to chat with you, and it's always great to hear what 5-Star is doing next. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Gina.
Thanks for hanging out with us on the Tech Matchmaker. I hope today's spotlight sparks some fresh ideas and real solutions for your contact center. Want to dive deeper into the tech we featured? Hit up the show notes for all the links and extras, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if there's a challenge you want us to tackle, don't be shy, reach out. I'll catch you soon with more innovation, more use cases, and more ways to keep your business moving forward. Stay curious, stay bold, and keep exploring what's next.